Hello everyone, my name is Conrad on behalf of CameraStuff. Thank you for joining yet another live session. Tonight we are going to talk about the beauty dish, the Wok That Rocks, which is a bit of it's a quirky name that we gave the beauty dish itself. So if you are joining, I see we are building a crowd as we speak. Yeah, so introduce yourself. Tell me where you are from in the comment section and I'll give you a bit of a shout out as we go along. So just waiting for more of a crowd to build. But in the meantime, as said, tell me your name, tell me where you're from. Let's get to know one another. It's the reason why we do this live is to be interactive with you guys. Okay, so as said, we're going to talk about the beauty dish tonight. So it is a light modifier. So light modifier, that is anything placed in front of your light that obviously modifies the light. So it can be like a softbox, an umbrella, a beauty dish. It can be a barn door, a snoot, it can be a scrim. Anything that modifies the properties of your light in terms of creating a softer light or a harder light, a big light or a small light, etc., etc. That's a light modifier, and a beauty dish just happens to be one of them. All right, so I figure we can get started, shall we? So let me first show you what the beauty dish looks like. All right, so I took this video in my backyard. So that's the beauty dish. It's something that kind of resembles a satellite dish or looks like something you can cook your stir fry in. That being attached to the Godox 8600 BM, but anything with a Bowens mount accessory, speedlight accessory mount can be used with a beauty dish if it has the Bowens mount as well. All right, so that is the beauty dish. So the beauty dish is widely employed in portrait and fashion photography, and it serves as a specialized lighting modifier. It produces a distinctive light quality known as semi-soft light, and it strikes a balance between a softer illumination, similar to that of a softbox or umbrella, and a harsher direct bare light. So it's an intermediate light quality that can be best described as semi-soft. So it is an extreme, sorry, should I say it's a happy medium between super soft light and super hard light. It can also be said that the control of the light output of a beauty dish also helps to minimize imperfections. It can highlight textures and it can create captivating catch lights in the eyes, hence the term beauty dish. So the beauty dish is typically constructed entirely of metal and it features a silver interior coating. The reflective silver surface plays a crucial role in increasing the specularity and the contrast of the light. Additionally, it contributes to enhancing texture and dimension, adding depth, richness to your subject being photographed. The intensity of the light may not be suitable for everyone, it must be said, as it varies depending on person to person. For example, with a softbox, that is a safe option that will flatter everyone, whereas the beauty dish, it may be a little bit too harsher in terms of texture. So if you're mindful of, skin retouching and whatnot, the beauty dish does a good job accentuating, bringing forward texture. So if you don't want to do too much skin retouching, you probably want to go with the softbox route. However, if your subject has very well-defined jawline, prominent cheekbones, a very angular brow, for instance, the beauty dish proves to be incredibly helpful in terms of accentuating that and highlighting those facial features, breathing life into them with remarkable results. Okay, we have a big crowd. I don't see any introductions as of yet. So in the comment section, tell me your name, tell me where you're from. As I said, let's have a conversation with one another. So I think we can go to our slideshow, shall we? So the beauty dish consists of three main components. The dish itself, that's the thing that looks like a satellite dish, a reflector plate, that's the thing in the middle there, and the optional front diffuser or honeycomb grid. Now, it must be said for honeycomb grid, I'll show you results using that, but that's an optional extra. So it's a separate purchase. However, the CameraStuff, if you buy both the beauty dish and the honeycomb, a nice discount with it. So with that reflector disc that you see in the middle, that just prevents direct lighting. So the light will bounce into that reflector disc and bounce back into the beauty dish. So that's just a way of preventing direct light, reducing the overall harshness of the light ever so slightly. So you can see what a beauty dish looks like. They come in different sizes as well, so 42 centimeters, 55 centimeters, and 70 centimeters. And I'll show you the differences between the 42 and the 70 centimeter in due time. Okay, now as mentioned, some beauty dishes, well, most of them do come with a soft cover. There's a cover that you can just attach to the front of the beauty dish And that just helps to aid the softness of the light, or should I say, just adds a bit of softness to the light ever so slightly. Hello there, Dales from Krugersdorp. Hope you're doing very well. All right, so it's going to get my slideshow working. Okay, now unfortunately I lost my diffuser. So for my beauty dish, what I used instead was a diffuser from a softbox, and you can MacGyver something that looks like this. It doesn't look very professional, but yeah, it does indeed get the job done. So if you don't have a diffuser, you can kind of MacGyver something yourself. You can use a front diffuser from your softbox, or anything that kind of does the same job as well. So anything that is designed to diffuse the light. All right, so you can see a comparison between the beauty dish with a cloth and without a cloth. So on the left-hand side, that is without the cloth. So that is the bare beauty dish. And on the right-hand side, that is with the cloth utilized. So as you can see, the results are not that different, but the cloth does help to suppress the highlights and to diffuse the shadows just ever so slightly. So it makes a small difference. Now, if you want to create an even softer light, we have to remember one of the golden rules of studio lighting. The bigger the light source, the softer the light will be. And you can change the size of your light source by changing light modifiers. So a bigger thing essentially will give you softer light. Now, a diffuser cloth in front of a beauty dish in this instance doesn't really create a larger light source. Hence, the results are not that very different. So just to zoom in a little bit, so that is with cloth and without cloth, left-hand side without, right-hand side with the cloth. You can see here with the highlights and some of the edges of the shadows, the cloth just helps to diffuse the light and suppress the highlights ever so slightly. So it is an option. So if you want a slightly softer light from a beauty dish, so if you find the light from a the beauty dish to be a bit too harsh, just add the cloth in front of it. Here we can see more results. So on the left-hand side, that's with the beauty dish utilized, and on the right-hand side with the cloth attached. So just to reiterate, the cloth is designed to soften the light ever so slightly, so it's not a prominent difference. However, you do get that your highlights will be ever so suppressed, and the edges of the shadow slightly more diffused as well. So I think what we can do now is compare the beauty dish against other light modifiers. So here on the left-hand side, that is with a 42 centimeter beauty dish against a bare light source. So bare light source means no modifier attached, so it's the flash as is. So on the left-hand side, you can see the beauty dish, the edges of the shadows and the highlights ever so diffused. Whereas on the right-hand side, you can see how well-defined those shadows are, especially around the neck and jawline area. And here we can see a comparison with a rather large softbox. So you can see a big difference here. So increasing the size of your light source indeed helps to soften the light a tremendous deal. So with a larger softbox, you can see how soft that light is in comparison to the beauty dish. So just like we mentioned right at the beginning, the beauty dish serves as an in-betweener light. So it's not as hard as a bare light, and it's not as soft as a softbox. So it's like Goldilocks, if you want to call it that. It's not too hot, not too cold. And here we can see zoomed in with all of the images side by side. So just to reiterate, with a bare flash, you can see how well defined those shadows are. There'll be many hotspots as well. You can probably notice on the bottom lip how pronounced those highlights are. Whereas with a beauty dish, well, obviously not as soft as a softbox. So it is that in-betweener quality of light. Not super hard, not super soft, just smack in the middle. Okay, so as mentioned, where this will be useful, if you are dealing with a model that has very pronounced cheekbones, very defined jawline, very angular brow, etc., like sharp facial features, the beauty dish will excel in accentuating those features. Whereas if you have a person with a slightly more round face, you probably want to go to the softbox option instead. Yeah, so hence the term beauty dish. Does a spectacular job, bringing all of those, beautiful facial features to life. All right, so let's talk about the honeycomb attachment. So the honeycomb attachment, as said, is a separate purchase. So it's not something that comes with a beauty dish, but as mentioned, if you buy both at CameraStuff, you do get a bit of a discount. So just to make sure that you buy the right sized honeycomb for your beauty dish. So here you can see a 55 centimeter beauty dish with the honeycomb attached. So it's just something that clips onto the front very easily onto the beauty dish. Now, the honeycomb grid is a popular accessory used with a beauty dish to further modify and control the light output. So the honeycomb is a grid-like structure composed of small cells that attach to the front of a beauty dish. And here are some of the uses that you can get out of a honeycomb. So obviously you get directional control. The honeycomb grid helps to restrict and direct the light emitted from the beauty dish in a more focused manner. It narrows down the spread of the light, creating a more controlled beam. This is particularly useful when you want to highlight specific areas or subjects in your composition, such as accentuating facial features or separating light from the background, or should I say, avoiding light on your background. It's also helped to enhance light shaping. By adding a honeycomb grid to your beauty dish, you can further shape the light to achieve specific effects. So the grid helps to create a more defined and sharper shadows. Very important. The contrast of the light just enhances ever so slightly by using the honeycomb, so you get sharper and more defined shadows. So giving your image a sense of depth and dimension. You can also assist in sculpting the light around your subject, adding a touch of drama or emphasizing textures. Now here's the important bit. It helps to reduce spill light. As mentioned, if you want to keep light off your background or away from other areas, you can use the honeycomb just to focus that light exactly where you want it, in a manner of speaking. All right, so here you can see results with grid and no grid. So you can see how prominent the difference is. So 40 centimeter beauty dish with no grid attached on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side with the honeycomb grid attached. So you can see what great a job it does keeping light off the background and focusing the light precisely where you want it. Okay, so if you want that dramatic dark background, those richer shadows, definitely attach the honeycomb to your beauty dish. And here we can see results with the 70 centimeter beauty dish with no grid, and on the right-hand side with the grid attached. I'll show you some results between the 70 centimeter and the 42 in a wee moment. All right, so I don't know if you have any questions to ask. So if you're watching, you'll see we have a nice crowd. So up until now, if you are, have a question or two, do drop that in the comment section. So I'll see here from Dale again. What will it cost? Stan 8200 with beauty dish, rough estimates. So at CameraStuff, if you buy stuff together, we call that a bundle, and you get the bundle discount with it as well. So stand typically is about 800 Rand or 700 Rand, but you get a discount with that. The beauty dish is about 8,400, but you get a discount with that as well. The beauty dishes range from 800 Rand to 2,000 Rand, depending on the size. So just drop us an email or a WhatsApp, whatever, however you want to contact us, and we can formalize a quote for you. So rough estimates, 700 Rand plus 8,400 plus, let's call it 1,500 Rand minus 15%. So it's difficult to have a precise number on the top of my head, but it's going to be that more or less. Now, I think the 8200 will do very well with a beauty dish as well. Come on, slideshow. All right, so more results with grid and without grid. On the left-hand side, that is without the grid. On the right-hand side, that is with the honeycomb grid attached. So if you're keen on going for a beauty dish route, I would highly recommend getting the honeycomb as well, because as you can see, it can just transform the entire look of your image. So if you want that drama, those darker shadows, get that honeycomb, attach it to your beauty dish, and you'll see your images just come to life in terms of drama and the overall vibes and moods that you want to create. Okay, so this was me in my studio aiming the beauty dish directly at the backdrop. On the left-hand side, that was with the honeycomb grid attached. On the right-hand side, no honeycomb grid attached. So as you can see how well the honeycomb does its job in concentrating and focusing that beam of light. So on the right-hand side, you can see the light kind of goes everywhere, creates a nice even distribution of light on the backdrop. but with that honeycomb attached, it creates a more so focused beam of light. So if you want to create that focused beam of light, get that honeycomb attached. All right, so here are the differences between a 42 centimeter and the 70 centimeter. So if the 42 centimeter, you can see the light is a bit more focused, hence the darker backdrop. The shadows tend to be a little bit darker as well. Because of the small size of the beauty dish, obviously the light's going to be a bit more focused. Whereas with the 70 centimeter beauty dish, as you can see, the light distributes in a wider beam of light and a bit more evenly as well. On the left-hand side, you can see, especially on the bottom lip, on the upper arm, and around the neck area, how more enhanced those highlights are. So in terms of specularity, obviously being a smaller light modifier, the light will just create more hotspots in a manner of speaking. Whereas with a larger light modifier, it will just suppress the highlights ever so slightly. So it's just something to be mindful of. Between the two, I prefer the 42 centimeter beauty dish because of that focused, more so dramatic quality of light. Yeah, but it all depends on you and what you want to create. And here are some results using the beauty dish. Some recent photos on the left-hand side and some very old photos. Now, I think this photo on the right-hand side I took like 7 years ago. But that was me in my beauty dish phase. I took every photo with a beauty dish. So as you can see, in terms of angularity, the sharp facial features of our models, so that just comes to life under the light of a beauty dish. So as mentioned, the beauty dish, not as soft as a softbox, but that helps in terms of creating that angularity on a person's face. Because sometimes you get a little bit tired of the softbox effect. That's a little bit too safe, a little bit too soft for liking, and sometimes your subject doesn't deserve that. Sometimes your subjects want that extra bit of sharpness to the light. Some more results. And some more. All done with a beauty dish as my key light. So the key light, that being the main light in a manner of speaking. The main light is your main exposure, your main creative light. That is what illuminates your subject. All of these other lights that you see, on the right-hand side, for example, those gels, those are just supplementary lighting. So your main light is the one that provides you the main look and feel of your image. Okay, that's the end of my slideshow. So I don't know if you have any questions. Something else I want to add is that a beauty dish, it being all metal, that is very great for on location and for traveling. So if you drop the beauty dish, all you need to do is to panel beat it back into place. Yeah, so if you do drop it, if it does get bent and warped here and there, all you need to do is to pull it back into shape, as opposed to a softbox or an umbrella that can break permanently if it falls to the ground. So just to reiterate, in terms of working on location, moving around with your lighting and gear, if your beauty dish does bump against things, if it falls down on the ground, the damage is not going to be permanent. All you need to do is just to bend it back into shape. So if you are a bit of a haphazard photographer, which is perfectly fine, if you move around with your equipment, if you throw stuff into the boot, beauty dish is awesome because, as I said, chances of it's breaking very, very low. If it does bend and warp, just pull it back into shape. So I have one here with me. Let's pull here. So this is my 42 centimeter beauty dish. So you can see with a silver interior coating, that just helps to maintain the overall intensity of the light. Plus the silver coating just adds extra specularity. It enhances the highlights on your subject as well. Here you can see that reflected disc. So that just prevents any direct light from hitting your subject. So the light will bounce into this reflected disc and reflect back into the shape of the beauty dish. So it just prevents any extreme harshness to the light. So the light is not as direct as obviously a bare flash. Now, this is the honeycomb. So you can see it. Once I move it ever so slightly, my face disappears. So it is designed just to control and shape and focus the light in a more so focused beam. This is probably going to make a bit of noise. No, but the honeycomb just simply clips onto the front. Come on. There we go. This thing is about 8 years old. It had its bumps, it had its trials and tribulations through life. But as you can see, it is still with us. Very alive and well and still being used today. All right, so 21 minutes in. This was a very short and sweet live session just to kind of highlight the uses and what a beauty dish is. So if you have any questions, do drop them in the comment section. Until then, I think I'm going to go back to some of my slideshows just to repeat a couple of points, if I may. All right, so I think this one is quite interesting. So this is comparing the beauty dish against a bare flash and a big softbox. So as mentioned probably 4 or 5 times now, the beauty dish is your in-betweener in terms of light quality. So it's not as hard as a bare flash, it's not as soft as a softbox. So it's that Goldilocks zone of not too hot, not too cold, not too hard, not too soft. So in terms of accentuating facial features, again, I want to mention if your subject has prominent cheekbones, very well-defined jawline, angular brow, etc., etc., the beauty dish does a very good job in accentuating those facial features. Now, with a softbox, the light is incredibly soft, so it's a safe option. It does tend to flatter everyone, but sometimes you don't want that super-duper soft lighting, especially if you want to make use of that hard light, as mentioned, if you want to accentuate certain facial features. Now, the bare light, as you can see on the far left-hand side, how well defined those shadows are, especially of the neck area and around the cheekbones. And that obviously comes from a very small light source. As mentioned, the smaller the light, the harder the light will be. So if you attach a slightly larger light modifier in front of your light, you increase the size, the effective size of your light source, hence softening the light. So for a 42 centimeter beauty dish, obviously that's a little bit bigger as opposed to a bare flash, hence being added softness to the light. But obviously, with the far right-hand side example, that using an 80 by 120 centimeter rectangular softbox, that's a much bigger light modifier, much bigger light source, hence the extra softness to the light. Right, so I think it all depends on what you want to create. So often we get questions, in terms of what is best to use. I think it all depends on what you want to create on the day. So, think about your subject, think about what you want to highlight, think about moods and vibes as well. If you want to create a sharper, edgier photo, certainly you want to go with a harder light. If you're taking photos of a person who is a bit more soft in terms of their personality, you want to go with a softbox as well. Yeah, but there's a lot to uncover here, and there are no strong rules, only principles. And here I detailed some of the principles of light, and from there you can use that information to make your own work flourish. All right. So that was basically the beauty dish. So I don't know what else to add. Maybe I can show you the video again. I have to get rid of a few things. All right. Let's restart that, if I may. So that with the Godox 8600, that being a bones mount, or should I say that has a bones speed ring accessory mount. So that is the fixture that allows you to mount certain light modifiers. So if you want to buy light modifiers for your light, you just need to make sure that the accessory mount is compatible with the attachment of your light modifier. So if you have a bones accessory mount for your light, make sure that you buy bones mounted light modifiers. And we sell most of them at CameraStuff. So in terms of softboxes, beauty dishes, bar knobs and snoots, etc., the majority of them will have that bones mount, and the majority of Godox lighting will have the bones mount as well. So if you're a little bit confused about that, just give us a message and we'll make sure that you buy stuff that is compatible with one another. So let me just show you the website. I can show you where to get beauty dishes on our website. Let's do that quickly. Sorry, I just have to find the right button. Here we go. All right, so here's the CameraStuff website. So if you go to the category Studio and Light, just hover over it and go to Beauty Dishes. Plop. And you can see a variety of beauty dishes right here. So we have the 42 centimeter. I think Dale asked in terms of pricing. Now I can be a bit more accurate with my pricing. 42 centimeter is 790, 55 is 1,500 Rand more or less, and the bigger one, the 70 centimeter, is 1,800. Here you can see the honeycombs that you can get with it as well. All right, now if you want to buy both, just pop up a message and we can apply the discount as well. All right, so that's the CameraStuff website where to find beauty dishes. Alternatively, you can just type in beauty dish and it'll lead you directly to them as well. But alternatively, studio lights and gear, beauty dishes. Plop. So to round up, let's get rid of that. I think a beauty dish is a great addition to your lighting kit. So if you have a couple of soft boxes, a couple of umbrellas already, the beauty dish will give you something different. Umbrellas and soft boxes can be quite similar in many aspects, but a beauty dish will give you an entirely different quality of light. So if you want to experiment on a day, go from beauty dish to soft box to umbrella, the beauty dish will give you something else to play with. So something to complement your current kit, and you can plan photo shoots around it as well. So you can get your edgy models, models that are a little bit, tougher around the edges in a manner of speaking, somebody with stronger personalities. The beauty dish does work well in terms of creating those moods and vibes, but also people with, very angular faces as well, strong cheekbones, well-defined jawline, very accentuated or angular brow lines as well. Beauty dish does a spectacular job in accentuating those features. All right, so without any other questions, I think that's going to be it from my side. So maybe I'm going to give it a minute or two. So if you're still watching, if you have a question, do drop it in the comment section. So the reason why we do this live is to interact with you guys. So I think that's going to be it. So just an extra minute. So you have me while you still have me. So if you want to make use of what I have to know, pop a question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play just a countdown timer. And if there are no questions, during which I'm going to call it the end and call it good night. So you have basically 30 seconds. Okay, we have a question. Thank you from Dale again. Are you at Oxford Street? Not anymore. Not since I think 8 or 9 years ago. So we used to be at Oxford Street. We used to share a facility with I think it was a College of Digital Photography. Yeah. So that was quite a long time ago. So we moved to Jan Smuts Avenue. We used to be at 373. Now we are at 473 Jan Smuts Avenue. So we have a walk-in shop. We have a demo room as well. So if you want to have a look at equipment, you're more than welcome to visit us at 473 Jan Smuts Avenue in Blairgowrie. If you're not anywhere close, don't worry. We do deliver nationwide as well. And we have free delivery for any orders above 1,000 Rand. Also, something that is cool that we as CameraStuff offer, we have a 60-day refund policy. So if you're not happy with any of your equipment, just simply send it back and we'll give you a full refund. That applies within 60 days. Thereafter, we have the standard 1-year warranty on any non-Godox items. For Godox items, we have a 2-year warranty. So fun times all round. So if you want to experiment with equipment, if you find yourself not happy with it, we can certainly help you out afterwards. Okay, so I think that's going to be it from my side. This is me, Conrad, on behalf of CameraStuff. Hope you have a pleasant night further, not obstructed by further load shedding. Obviously, that's now a permanent thing. Hopefully, you have ways around it. So, until next time, we have an interview tomorrow. So, if you want to catch that, do join us tomorrow. Otherwise, everything will be scheduled well in advance. So, check out our YouTube channel or Facebook in terms of future live sessions. Now, we have a lot of topics to cover. I will get to all of them in due time. So go to our Facebook or YouTube channel, subscribe, and you'll be notified whenever we have something scheduled. So until then, this is me, Conrad, signing off. Cheers.